Hello guys, this is John from 100%mindset.com, and I'm here today to review a awesome book. It's called Man Up, Bedros Keulian. This book is in the self-help genre, in the fitness genre. It's basically starts off as him having an anxiety attack. He thought it was a heart attack, but a little bit of background on Bedros. He is the owner of Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, and he's Armenian. And backstory, before the anxiety attack, I just want to talk a little bit about. He came to this country with his family. They escaped, I think Armenia was communist or something, and so he didn't come from means, he didn't come from money. He was the immigrant kid that didn't know a lot of English and was made fun of, and he found fitness and working out, and it kind of built his self-esteem. He obviously learned English, and he became very successful. He owns many gyms, Fit Body Bootcamp in Orange County. So it starts off with him having this anxiety attack. He thought it was a heart attack. He, fell to his knees near the pool house, and he crawled out, or he, walked out towards the pool deck. So if he did freaking keel over, his wife would see him, or somebody would see him from the house. And long story short, it wasn't a heart attack, it was an anxiety attack, because he was just stressed. Like, things were starting to ramp up with Fit Body Bootcamp. He started to open a couple franchise, and the stress was mounting. He just wasn't a great leader yet. He talks about that in the book. He was adversarial with employees, and he had just bought in a house. He just got married. He just had two young kids, so stress levels were high. But back to his personal training days, he was working at, like in a box gym, and he was training clients and making money. But one of his clients, one of the guys he was teaching fitness to, was named Jim Franco, and I think they might have mentioned him in the Arnold Total Recall book. I'm not sure, but he's an older gentleman, businessman, and he kind of took Bedros under his wing and said, "Look." And a little backstory on Jim Franco. He was a innovator back in maybe in the 70s and 80s, where he computerized auto parts. Put the for auto parts store, he put the parts catalog on computers, and I think he sold the software and the hardware to probably every friggin' auto parts store under the sun, because back in the day you had to look up these parts in a 300-page manual. And so he's a wealthy guy, Jim Franco. He took Bedros under his wing, started mentoring him, teaching him about money, teaching him about business a little. Bedros was young, Jim was an older gentleman, was into fitness. He said, "Hey, Bedros, you cannot make money just personal training. You're never going to branch out. You're never going to train enough people to make any serious dough." So, he kind of planted the seeds of, multiple businesses, multiple franchises, automation, software, hardware, outside of the box thinking, to where, you don't go to a job and trade your time for money. You create businesses, you create money, you create things that you can license and sell and resell, and even while you're asleep they're selling. Okay, so that's what he was doing. He started a couple Fit Body boot camps. It's basically where they take like a roll up or something in a business park, or like in a strip mall, and turn it into a gym. Similar to CrossFit, but it's a little different. It's basically the concept of spreading the cost of the trainer over 10 or 15 clients, so you get this really personalized level of training, but you're with a group of 10 people, And then Bedros' genius was he brought this indoors, because if the weather's bad or it's raining or whatever, people will find any excuse not to work out. It's human nature. If it's cold outside, they won't, wake up and go to the gym. So he brought this indoors. He had state-of-the-art facilities. He had really good trainers, and that was his business model. But back to the book, I want to say the book is like a training manual if you have a team, or if you have, you don't have to be in the fitness industry. You can, there's many lessons in the book that you can take action on, like, the next day, about team building. And he's, his big thing he calls his team in the book is he wants to hire like fighter jets, like a F-18. He doesn't want to hire like crop dusters, which are just like like an old propeller plane. It's on its last leg, and now it's like spreading seeds or fertilizer on a farm. He wants fighter jets, And then he talks about like how we can become fighter jets, that we should have that attitude of, type A personality, and going after it, and getting our fitness level up, and getting our eating right, and getting a lot of the, to his credit, he talks about issues in the past that he worked out with a psychologist or whatever, and, he got his mind right. There was things holding him back that he didn't quite feel right. So once he got all that, he started becoming the great leader. And he basically was, teaching his team the right way to have camaraderie and different, concepts of like sending an email on Monday that's not adversarial, that's like, these are the goals we're trying to hit, these are how many franchises we're trying to get by the end of the year. He had an extensive hiring process that he goes over in the book too, which was interesting. And also rewards and company culture. Like, talks about, he might say, hey, meet me for coffee downstairs or whatever. We'll go out for coffee, and he'll have like 2 gourmet coffee trucks for the whole office, and they all come out and they can all talk to each other and have some nice coffee. And he did that with food trucks, and he just really got his leadership skills up to par, and that's totally allayed his anxiety to nil, and got all his psychological issues, pretty much worked out with a therapist. And also he talks about, in the book, where he wasn't eating clean and he wasn't really living up to his fitness. He wasn't practicing what he preached, and it showed, and he wasn't, ripped or buff or totally energetic. And he talks about, you have to be the example. You have to show these people of what you expect, and it's a team building thing in itself. They see the leaders like that, and then they want to follow suit. You don't have to really push anybody. If you hire these fighter jets, they're self-motivated. They push themselves, And what else he wants to touch on in the book? Oh, he talks about Craig Ballantyne, who I really like. I follow on Instagram. He's a known coach and a fitness guy, and he hired him to help him write this book. Writing a book is not easy. This is not a really long book, but he hired Craig Ballantyne to keep him accountable, and to say, hey, why didn't we go to the gym, or why didn't we finish chapter 8, or sometimes you need that little kick in the butt to get things started. And people on this level, they're not opposed to hiring a coach, to taking a course, to self-developing further themselves. That's how they got to where they are, and they never stop. See, you think you're going to retire, you think you're just going to take it easy and just relax on the couch. These are people that will never do that. They'll always be going after the next goal. So there's other things. One other thing I wanted to touch on the book is, he talks about, getting off your ass and making your someday today. It's like, the only thing I tell you people about this book, it's called Man Up, and it's basically there's nobody that's going to do this for you. There's nobody coming down and on a white horse and gonna save you or get you fit or get you into this mindset of a type A or a fighter jet or a go-getter. You know, it's like you got to get your shit together. That's what the book basically teaches you. It's up to you, and there's certain things you can do to implement that. And there's and he talks about it to himself. He's like, I gotta man up. The one thing that stood out to me in the book was that, when he was having trouble in the beginning and right before that anxiety attack that he thought was a heart attack, he was in financial trouble. It was like the recession, and he had a Nissan GTR that him and his young son would go out on Sundays and tool around in. And like he had to tighten up and sell that car, and all he can remember was his son crying and how upset he became. And it really hit home for him that he had to man up. He would look in the rearview mirror in his car and he goes, "It's time for you to man the F up." And that's basically take it to the next level. And that's what this book teaches you. And there's a lot of important lessons here on team building and work culture and hiring the right people, and also being the right person before you can do all that. It's little things like eating clean, you making your bed, keeping yourself organized, all this little stuff that you think, is just like blasé. It's like Marines do it, type A personalities do it, people that really want to level up, they all do all these little things that it's almost like compound interest on a stock. Your trajectory goes slightly up every year until it's a measurable difference, because the opposite is it can go slightly down every year. And that's where most of your people, if you like Facebook them or whatever, you're like, I wonder what happened to this guy, I wonder what happened to that girl. Look, if you go slightly down 1% every year, in 20 years you're gonna be a train wreck. So you got to man up. And if you want to check out this book, Man Up, I gave a 5-star review on Amazon. You can use the link below to buy it.